The information provided on this podcast is intended to be educational and informational only and is not considered to be formal legal advice. The listener should not take or refrain from taking action based on its content. Any listener in need of legal opinion upon which to rely in decision-making should consider formally engaging an attorney to review relevant facts in detail and examine the pertinent law as it applies to those facts.
Hi, this is Mike Carswell, Director of Scranton Road Promotional Marketing, and you're listening to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future.
I was like, okay, we got to start a podcast. Like, our goal was to start one by the end of the year. And then all of a sudden, it was just like, if we want to be on less calls, we need to figure out how to have more exposure. And if we have more exposure, then we'll be having the right calls.
And now, a word from our sponsor, High Rise Capital. High Rise Capital is a boutique commercial real estate investment firm that helps high-income professionals, high-net-worth individuals, and family offices obtain above-average returns with reduced volatility and tax efficiency from high-quality commercial real estate investments. High Rise Capital helps clients achieve meaningful investment returns, generate multiple streams of income, and participate in investments that enhance lives and provide a tangible societal benefit. To learn more about High Rise Capital, please visit their website and download their free ebook, More Doors, More Profits, both of which you can find in the show notes. Thank you.
This is Dream Chasers, episode 161, with Michael Barnhart and Suzy Sevier.
Hey guys, hi Grandma. This is Adam Carswell, and welcome to Dream Chasers, Interviews with the Future. On Dream Chasers, we bring next level talent to the light. Thank you for tuning in. Now let's get straight to the interview. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to episode 161 of Dream Chasers. I'm your host, Adam Carswell, joined by Michael Barnhart and Suzy Sevier of the Adventurous of the Real Estate Investor podcast, also a private equity firm that we're going to learn a lot about today. And before I say hello to one of my favorite people in the world, I actually let Michael know he can say hello to her here today. So Michael, what were you going to say?
It's my pleasure to say hello to Adam's grandma. Hi, Grandma.
Thank you, Michael.
Hi, Mom.
Thank you, Suzy. So real quick, Michael and Suzy, as I mentioned, they have their own show, and we're going to dig into that here today, as well as their own investment company. My episode just went live on their platform today, and they are on a mission to hit the iTunes new and noteworthy. And man, talk about two people with just an incredible strategy to make sure that they crush it, whether it's raising capital, whether it's finding deals, whether it's launching a top 200 podcast, just being great people. I don't even know where to begin. Blessed to have them in my life, in my circle, as well as everything that we're doing over at Raise Masters. That's how we first got connected. By the way, Raise Masters is the #1 mastermind for elite capital raisers. But anyways, that's enough out of me. Want to just have Michael and Suzy greet our audience. We are live here on Facebook, and I forgot, I got to send you guys the live link here, unless you might have already snagged it. But as it looks like Michael's maybe pulling up, so we'll start with Suzy. Suzy, how are you feeling today? What are you looking forward to digging into in our conversation today?
So today is wonderful. Let's see. I'm just excited to dig into like how we started, why we decided to start, and then like what steps we did and actually to make this all work for us right now, because I don't know what people think when they think of podcasts, but there was way more that went into it than I ever imagined. So just can't wait to talk about that more, and hopefully others can learn from this journey as well.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways you can go about launching a show. I know looking back on it, for myself, I was much more like, hey, I'm just going to press record and throw this on YouTube and see what happens. It's a good way to go about it. But I think when you kind of take the approach that Michael and Suzy have had, like being in the top 200 in iTunes wasn't even an idea for me. I didn't even know that was like something to go for. So hopefully if you're thinking about it, you're able to use this interview as a way to open your mind for what's achievable and what's doable as you come flying out of the gates here with your new show. I know it seems like everyone is launching a podcast, and that's something that holds back a lot of people. However, maybe everyone is launching one, but not everyone is doing them for, say, for example, more than 3 years. And I've heard and found that's like the breaking point here. So anyone who's interested in getting started, I'm going to flip it over to Michael here in a second, but anyone who's interested in getting started, this is a marathon. It's a long-term play. It's not like a, hey, I'm going to do it. Oh, no listeners. And I just quit. Like, you can't have that mindset. So Michael, same question for you. How are you feeling today? It looks like you got the link set up, which is awesome. What are you looking forward to kind of digging in here to today in the conversation?
Man, Adam, it's an honor to be here. Really excited to be on this podcast, and it was a pleasure having you on our podcast as well, which, as we mentioned earlier, launched today. So please go check that out. Yeah, ready to get into. We could talk about podcasting. Also talk about. Really looking forward to talking about impact investing and focusing on a different ROI, right? And that ROI is return on impact.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that spin there, because we definitely need to talk about what drives you guys, what really has what's brought us to this point of conversation is not just us running into each other and, oh, hey, let's do it. Like what you just mentioned, impact investing, moving forward with a purpose, finding out your why, who you serve, just getting the whole spiritual aspect of life involved into your business. Clearly, to me, is something you guys are doing a great job with. Considering you started maybe like a year ago, and now it seems like everyone in our circle knows your name. And when I say our circle, I'm not just talking Raise Masters. I'm like LinkedIn, commercial real estate investing. He's like, oh, you don't know Michael and Suzy? Like, you do now. So let's unpack you guys' journey, your story. I'm trying to think who to start with. We'll start with Michael this time. We'll go over to Suzy, but just kind of tell us when the real estate light bulb came on for you guys and what that piece of life and business means to you. And then we'll kind of shift over to the podcasting epiphanies and that type of thing. So starting with real estate, how did this whole journey begin, Michael?
Yeah. So we actually began because of COVID-19, the lockdown, right? So we were locked down for over 100 days in the UK for the first lockdown. There ended up being 3, but the first one was 100 days. I got all the work I needed to get done. And then we were kind of sitting around. Suzy and I choose not to have a TV because of the distractions. And so we were sitting around like, what are we going to do? We can go outside once a day to exercise or go to the grocery store or the pharmacy. And that's about it. And so we looked at each other, we're like, well, we have all these awesome books. So if you can't see behind me, there's a ton of books that we have. We lug them around everywhere we move.
Do I see traffic secrets there?
Probably. Yeah. Every book you can imagine. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. But one day, that's my dream. It's on my vision board. But anyways, we sat around and we were like, well, let's read some books. Let's start a mini book club together. So I'll read a book and then Suzy read the book and then we'll get together afterwards and talk about it. And so we started plowing through these books and we ended up coming across this book called Multiple Streams of Income by Robert Allen. And in there, he talks about multiple different ways to make money. And one of the sections is all about real estate investing. And we got to that section and I was like, wow, the way that he words it and the way they presents it makes it seem incredibly easy. And I looked at Suzy, I was like, we have to do this. We have to figure this out. This is one way that, we can make an impact in the world. And so she looked at me, she's like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, cool. And then so, which then led us down the rabbit hole of education, more and more books. We read, I don't know, dozens and dozens and dozens of additional real estate books and listened to hundreds of hours of podcast. And then we started joining all these meetups, whether most of them were virtual. And so that was like a silver lining for COVID because everything went online, like all the in-person meetups went online. And so we were able to attend meetups in Texas, California, Arizona, all over the States, right? Canada and things like that. So we were able to attend all these live events, take advantage of the situation that we currently had and really propel ourselves and grow our business that way. Did you want to add to that?
Yeah. I love how it sounds like the COVID inspired it. COVID was kind of the spark. And then the light bulb was you guys looking at each other like, well, we got all these books. Let's see what we can find. Hey, real estate sounds cool. Want to do it? Yeah, let's do it. All right. Like that sounds like how it started, which is so cool. I haven't, I don't know. I haven't heard a story quite. Am I getting that right? Is that kind of what happened?
No, that's
yeah, absolutely.
Really what happened.
We had a dream goal of like owning a mountain rental property. And so like, that's kind of where it all started. I was chatting with a friend. I was like, hey, let's save up and let's buy a place in Vail, Colorado. and then we can like ski there, snowboard when we're he skis.
Nice.
But snowboard when we're there, and then we can rent it out the rest of the time. And so we started looking at short-term rental stuff, and that's kind of then I think researching that led us to Bigger Pockets, which then opened up this whole can of education for real estate for us.
So, Suzy, I'm sure you got some fill in the blanks there, and I'd also like to know your take on this because it seems like I saw this like diagram once, and it was like the evolution of a real estate investor, and it starts off like, you know, rentals, like single family homes, short-term rentals, and then it goes to like there's something in between there, and then it's multifamily, and then it's, you know, retail, and then net lease or whatever. Like there's just like this evolution. Everyone kind of gets in through that like HGTV or like Bigger Pockets portal.
Yeah.
And now it seems like you guys are starting to go a little deeper down the rabbit hole and start to see, oh, like you said, there was more than just short-term rentals to this game. So I guess when did the light bulbs there start coming on, and did Michael leave anything else out of the true like epiphany story?
No, I mean, I don't think he left anything out. It was like right when we found out that conferences were online and we started to actually go onto social media and find real estate investing groups, someone had suggested like Veterans REI, and it's just a conference that Alan puts on and it's hosted by veterans. But what it did actually was discuss all the aspects, right? Like it talked about short-term rentals, house hacking, flipping, multifamily, you know, storage units, mobile home parks.
There you go. Two assets that I couldn't think of when I was trying to name them off right there. Yeah.
Right, I was too. I was like, let's cultivate this. But so that was like another aha, because it's like, oh, wow, there's way more that we didn't know about. And initially, we had actually chosen BRRRRs, and we had set up an entire team in a Midwest town. And then
Wow.
Yeah. And then actually an inland hurricane went through, and the two properties that we had under contract fell out of escrow.
Wow. Okay. Actually, so real quick, where were they? And for our listeners that aren't familiar with the BRRRR method, real quick, what is that?
So the BRRRR method is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and then repeat. And so it's basically a way to purchase undervalued homes, rehab them, bring them up to market value, and then refinance, get your cash out. And then you have a cash flowing asset and built-in equity.
Yeah. Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So you guys were thinking about going that direction.
Yes.
And then where were the properties at again?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
And they got knocked out by what?
Yeah, right. So it's an inland hurricane. So it's only wind, it's no water, and it's something that has never happened there before. So like not part of our risk profile, had no idea what was going to happen. Like 60% of the trees were destroyed. People were out of power for like 4 to 5, even 6, 7 weeks. Like even now, and this was last July. So, 11 months ago, like the city is still rebuilding itself. It will never look the same. I'm kind of amazed. I saw drone footage of like certain areas that I was familiar with, and I was like, wow, this is really bare. Like that's a bummer. But like our long-term goal, our 5-year goal was to transition into multifamily. And at that point, Michael and I were just like, no, we're not starting over to do single family homes in another random Midwest city. Like we're just going to go straight to multifamily. And because that conference that we went to at the very beginning talked about multifamily, like Whitney Sewell was the speaker, and he just said like, there's no reason why you ever have to start with single family homes, just start with multifamily. And it was like, okay, well, let's just do it because if everything is still virtual, and actually more was becoming virtual at that time. So we didn't see any reason why there would be any like problems or disadvantages for us to actually start to go into the multifamily space.
Hitting the nail on the head there. And that's something that's just becoming more and more prevalent across the world. And now finally for real estate, there's success stories like you guys that prove real estate can be done even if you're not there in the actual city. I mean, as long as you have the systems and strategies in place, you can be successful. And so I'm excited to switch over to the podcast topic, but not yet. Let's kind of just talk about, within 1 year, I know you guys have had 2 capital raises. They both have gone pretty well. Again, before you kind of joined Raise Masters, I already had a feel for who you were because of, I think you guys might have closed that first one right when we first launched or something like that. But what's it been like? What's the capital raising process been like? Due diligence, like how is all of doing this virtual been for you guys? Period. Or question mark. Doing it virtual. Like whoever wants to take the lead on that one.
I'll touch on the due diligence side, and I'll let Suzy touch on the capital side, so we can kind of split it up. So for due diligence, like we have a boots on the ground partner that we absolutely trust. Like he was a classmate of mine from the Air Force Academy. We've done the whole blood, sweat, and tears together for sure, and like so we know each other for like going on 16 years or close to it now.
Wow.
And so it's been a while, and so we trusted him, and so also being overseas, it's forced us to put the systems and the processes in place that we need to be successful, right? Because we're forced to look at everything via photos and stuff like that, because we can't travel to these locations right now because of COVID and the continued restrictions that we have in the UK. So we put the systems in place like, hey, here's the process. Here's a step-by-step. You need to look at this, this, and this, and you need to take pictures of this, this, and this, and then upload them to this certain area in Asana or Google Drive or whatever, and we'll take a look, and then we can look, so we can participate as much as we can in the physical due diligence part, right? We can do all the digital stuff like reviewing the leases and, reviewing any contracts that are on the property and everything else that comes with digital due diligence. But when it came to physical stuff, it forced us to put the systems and processes in place, which is awesome, because it was kind of a blessing too, because now we're really forced to take a step back and look at the business and, okay, where can we put a process in place? Mm-hmm. And our ultimate goal is to be able to travel and live anywhere in the world and be able to continue to do this. And we're kind of perfecting the systems that we need in place in order to do that. So what's the difference now? We're 4,000 miles away. When we moved to Thailand, we're, 8,000 miles away or whatever, or more. Like, it doesn't matter, because we're going to have the systems and processes in place, and they're going to be near perfected at that point.
That'll be really cool to see, like a successful acquisition while in Thailand story play out. I'm really looking forward to that one. Hopefully I can come visit you guys there while it happens.
In between dives. Yeah. In between dives, answering emails to acquire more.
Right. Yeah. I know you guys are divers, and that's a great place to go for it. Love it. I lived in Belize for a little bit, by the way, too. I don't know if you ever got to dive in Belize.
I haven't yet. Did you get to dive in the blue hole?
I haven't personally, but I mean, I know lots of people who have, and whenever you guys are ready, just let me know. I'll get you connected with my Belize people, which used to be British Honduras not too long ago. Shout out to the UK. But so Suzy, what was the capital raising piece like? Because I think probably the due diligence you would assume might be a little bit of the more challenging, because you have to physically see the property and that type of thing. But I don't know, what was it like for you? Any hurdles, anything that went easier than you expected?
So I guess the hurdle was that right away we found out that our friends and family were not going to be the people who were investing with us. So it's like, shoot, now we're at ground zero. Where do we go from here? And, from what people were saying, they were like, you needed to start raising money yesterday. I was like, okay, I got this. And so we actually started having 20 to 25 investor calls a week. And these people were people from meetups. They were people from conferences. They were literally just people that I could find in passive income groups on Facebook. It was like all of the above, right? Because that was not going to be the reason. And we just started networking differently, right? So like I started reaching out to people that I went to school with, and Michael started reaching out to people he knew in the military. Just having those conversations with people who you can see probably are in the position where they can invest now, and just starting it from the very beginning, like, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? It was literally starting over, and that was totally okay. That part, now that it's over, like, I'm actually glad that we did it, because we got to know people on a much deeper level, right? Because one of the questions we were asking was like, why are you interested in investing in real estate? And that's when like raw emotions were told, and you find out a lot of stories about people on why it's super, super important for them to like leave a legacy behind. And like from there, it was like, wow, this is actually really fun. This is actually really cool. But like the hurdle, I guess, for our first raise was that we didn't ask deeper questions with our partners. And what I mean by that is, you all come in saying like, oh, I think I can raise this amount and I think I can raise that amount. But a lot of people aren't asking why or how, like, why do you think you can raise that much? How are you taking the actions to know that answer? And so that was the first step. Well, that was one thing. But then another thing was that we actually didn't have like the greatest automations in place. So going into Raise Masters and like learning a lot of hunters processes, it's amazing to see what's happening now with our emails and like the information that we're putting out there, because it's truly made a difference. And I know you've alluded to this, but like for our capital raise that we just ended, it was so much easier just because people actually knew us really well at this point. And, the information that we had been putting out and the content had just been better. And even something like the personalized invites to people for the webinar, that changes things as well. And so like, just again, remembering that people just want to be heard and acknowledged, and just doing something as simple as that has made things so much easier.
Love it. Love it. And don't be shy to share any Raise Masters secrets, because that's that's how that's how you win and do successful businesses. Obviously maybe if I have like someone who's really good at like podcasting show notes and I don't want to share them with my whole network, because then all of a sudden they can't do mine anymore. That's a different kind of like sharing your secrets. But what you mentioned, the personalized invites, that type of stuff, that's good. So yeah. And one thing you said that stands out to me is like, when we started, we just started doing 20 to 25 calls a week. Like that's a big hurdle for a lot of people. So, look at the energy and effort that these guys put in up front. It might look like all bubblegum and cotton candy right now, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears there as well. So, did you guys have any other KPIs when you were launching? 20 to 25 calls a week is pretty good. Was there anything else you were tracking at the time?
Not at that time. We didn't know how to track KPIs when we were doing that, right? We were just like hustling super hard, like just hitting it, grinding as hard as we could. Every single hour that we had available was dedicated to real estate, right? And now we're at the point where it's like, okay, now we have all these calls. We still have all these calls, but not as many. But like we're trying to taper that off, and we're trying to focus on the other stuff in the business, right? So we can grow the business and not be stuck on calls all the time now.
That's one of the things we teach over at Raise Masters, address those calls in advance. Love it. So well, let's dive into the content, the marketing, the podcasting side, I almost said more fun side, but come on, they're both fun. As far as podcasting, so when was the epiphany to start taking the marketing more serious, I guess? Because I don't think like the podcast, none of this was really happening during that first raise you mentioned. It seems like all the marketing efforts ramped up recently. So when did that light bulb come on? Just kind of walk us through that experience.
Yes. So I know the exact moment. I don't know what meeting it was, but it was in Raise Masters, and the speaker talked about the Go Live book. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so I read Go Live, and it's really short.
Amazing.
I don't know. It probably took me like 2 days, really. And I don't know why I needed to read it. I don't know what permission like the book allowed me to give myself. But when he said like virtual is here, it's not going away, like take advantage of it now, or else you're going to wish you took advantage of it 10 years ago, or 10 years, moving forward, looking back. Yeah. And I was like, okay, we got to start a podcast. Like our goal was to start one by the end of the year. And then all of a sudden it was just like, if we want to be on less calls, we need to figure out how to have more exposure. And if we have more exposure, then we'll be having the right calls, right? Because the people who are serious about, wanting to make an impact while leveraging real estate investing, those people will reach out. And those are the people that we want to be talking to. And we just knew that if we wanted to get more people, I guess, in our sphere, then we had to reach more people. And that was the way to do it. And like you said at the beginning, we're posting about it a lot. So like we're constantly in people's news feeds, which is great. I think it's great. Thank you, Grant Cardone, for that permission as well.
Well, yeah, how about that? that's a huge hurdle a lot of not only capital raisers, but just entrepreneurs and business owners face when first getting started with the marketing or content piece. Is like, oh, I don't want to post too much. I don't want to annoy my circle. I think when getting started, we all know you got to be a lot and consistent. Or if you're even, you reference Uncle G there, like he's every day in your face, that type of thing. So was it awkward? Was it uncomfortable at first? What was it? I'm sure at the beginning, maybe you weren't getting as many like likes and comments as maybe you are now. So like, what's your encouragement to those who are afraid to like post frequently?
Oh, so my encouragement, we might have different ones. Mine, I think, is a little more like harsh, but for me, I don't know if it matters that much about the comments and the likes, right? Like the people who are learning and who are supportive will be the ones who will be there. And that's what it was for me. I was like, if people get annoyed, are they truly supportive for this transition or like venture that I'm going on, right? Like that was huge for me, figuring out what the word support meant. But I mean, now, yes, now that we post all the time, we do get more likes and do more comments, but we are also engaging on other people's posts. And that's huge as well. I'm not just posting mine and hoping that everyone will just comment, right? It's like an equal share where I'm also posting on other people's stuff because now it's fun and now I understand the content and you actually learn so much faster that way. Like it blows my mind, right? Because you read a post and then you read whatever the 10 comments and you're like, oh, wow, I didn't think of it those two ways. Now I actually understand this concept and now I can comment as well. So it's just that in itself was, you learn so much.
Yeah. If you don't have haters, you're not being loud enough. And it's like, you want to be quiet to avoid people getting angry or upset with you. It's like, nope, blast it, post all the time. Yeah. Who cares? If people unfriend you or unfollow you, great. You don't need them anyways. Like clear them out, make room for everybody else.
And it's
that's my theory.
Yeah. And it's also social media, right? So like, that's my version of being social. I don't know what else to say.
I will say we do keep our email list very sacred, right? Yes. That is sacred. But like posting on social media, like if people don't want to see it, they scroll, right? But like when you're blasting out emails like every day, then that can be very annoying and clogging up people's inboxes and things like that. And then they're more likely to unsubscribe when they could be, an investor down the road. So and we're still trying to figure out a way. I think we're gonna work on some segmentations for people who want to get like more weekly content from us via email versus people who just want to see like the newsletter or people who just want to see like deals that come out. Like I don't want to hear anything until you got the deals, right? So like we're working on setting up a segmentation on the back end to deal with that.
Working on the honeymoon sequence.
Yeah, exactly.
Raise Masters inside joke. RaiseMasters.com.
Go to Raise Masters to find out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. And very good point with the email list. Treating the email list sacred, priority. I mean, that's your social media platform. The one that no one can really take away. I guess if Gmail or whatever wants to shut you down or whatever. But cool. Then the next question about posting consistently. And I have to give a huge shout out to our team here, Rena, who's tuned in. By the way, Rena said there's some great places to go diving in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
They'll be there. There you go, Rena. But so posting consistently and frequently in this whole beast that we're talking about here, podcasting, is really tough if you don't have a team. As far as like the LinkedIn, the social media, LinkedIn, the Instagram, the Facebook, how are you guys best leveraging your time? Because there's other entrepreneurs out there like, oh, like they can do that because they have all this time. I'm so busy, I don't have time. That's not really what's going on. So how have you like navigated that piece?
So at the beginning, it was like no team, right? And what we just found out was that we were going to have to stay up later, get up earlier because the content is that important, right? So like you have to decide what a critical item is in your business and what it'll do for you. But now that we have a team, I get to focus on other things. And that's really phenomenal, right? So like I, in my lifetime right now, do not ever want to become like a video production expert. Like that's just not something I'm interested in. Like being a social media expert, not something I'm interested in.
You're going to focus on your unique ability.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, no, exactly. But it is, or my queen bee role, right? It's clockwork.
Yeah, clockwork. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
But
nice. I've read that, but I might have missed that part. You said queen bee roll?
Yeah, the QBR.
Okay.
but
Nice.
with that, I want to be able to know the tasks so that if a transition occurs or something happens with my team, content can still be produced. Like I want that flow out there. And actually what we found out by using Loom, one of the greatest tools is that you can actually do one Loom video and you can repurpose it a million times. So like if you have to bring on someone new, same Loom video, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not taking up extra time to train more people, because that's a huge thing too. Oh, I don't have enough time to train this person or this person and this person. It's like, you only have to do it one time, like that task won't probably take you twice as long, but it's cool to be able to actually teach someone, because that's a whole part of this journey as well. Like education is a huge piece of like something that we're really, I guess, I don't want to say fond of, but passionate about. And so even being able to teach people other things that they're passionate about is super, super cool, or give them the opportunity to be able to do their passions.
Mm-hmm.
Education is so powerful. I'm good enough friends with him where I think I give him a shout out here on the show. Dr. Adam Gower, who's actually from the UK, but he lives in Los Angeles. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
Yep.
He had a great quote. And I'm just thinking from an educational piece, this is like, man, you guys are going to see over the next, again, 2, 3, 4, 10 years, the fruits of your labor and maybe some education that you created now is going to come back later. And you're like, whoa, we did that then and it's paying off now. And I just never forget, he's like, marketing and education, it's like a good workout, but it's better than a workout because you can do it. You can put in a good workout 5 years ago and you're still in good shape 5 years later, something like that. And I'm like, man, that's so true. So when you focus on the education piece instead of the sales, like a sale can kind of go stale. That rhymes. Like if all of your content's about your next deal, which is good to do that, but if that's all it's about, then somebody wants to learn from what you guys are doing after the deal is done. I mean, I guess they could maybe learn something from it, but it's just not as fruitful. And you guys have figured out the serving piece, right? With the education, it's just a great foundation. Can't go wrong. So all the content creators out there, again, whether you're raising capital, entrepreneur, whatever, focus on educating your sphere first is the main foundation. And then from there, if you want to get, salesy and throw something in here, like, like raisemasters.com or something like that, then every now and then you can pull it off. So, okay. What else do I have for you guys? Let's keep going down the podcasting rabbit hole because there's just so much to draw out of it. Now that you've launched, you're on the mission for New and Noteworthy. We're doing everything we can to push that. Ladies and gentlemen, actually, let's do this real quick. Rena, get ready. We're going to send everyone to the iTunes link, the Apple Podcast link, right?
Perfect. Yeah.
And people are going to want to go there. And if they subscribe and give it a 5-star rating and leave a review, kind of like walk us through what needs to happen and actually tell our audience what New and Noteworthy is. I'm kind of just assuming here.
You can go.
You know better than I do.
Okay. So New and Noteworthy is, I want to say it's like the secret club of Apple, but what it does is that you gain so much more exposure. And we believe that this exposure is extremely, extremely important because then all of our guests have that more many people looking at them, right? And I mean, we chose our guests very specifically because the impact that they're making is phenomenal, right? Like it wasn't just like, oh, here's a couple people I think I like, let's have them on. It's like, no, the impacts that they're making are so big that if enough people hear about it, we can make their impacts bigger. And that was the whole point behind New and Noteworthy. But in this secret club, from what I've found online, because sometimes I go into private investigator mode, is that through the subscription, the downloads, and the maybe ratings and reviews, the algorithm that Apple has ties it all together to be able to add you to that. So, I mean, I don't know it exactly. I'm not sure anyone does from what I've found, but it's just a mix of all of that. And that's why we're pumping up the content. And that's why we had the podcast launch, so that when it came to day one, it wasn't like, hey, everyone, we launched a podcast. People knew about it for sure a month before, if not more. And then we counted down 3 weeks out, 2 weeks out, 1 week out.
You guys have now that I think about it, you've got the playbook. for someone who like wants to potentially crush it, like these guys had the playbook. Because I remember you even did I did the live stream with you. I've never seen anyone do that before. I'm sure there's other people out there that have. Can you just run our audience through what the heck I'm talking about real quick?
Absolutely. So the Friday before and the Tuesday that we launched, we had some of our guests on to do a live stream. And what this was also was that like our audience could see it, your audience could see it, Adam, and then the other guest audience could see it. So then it was more of a hype, right? It's like instead of just seeing a picture that was created about our podcast and when your episode would launch, it was like, oh, they're live, I'll stop and listen. But through that, it was just more education on what was to come, right? I mean, in our live, we talked about like what impact means to you and like what a good life means to you or how you're making yourself 1% better every day. These are all things that other people have thought about or will think about, you know? And so to just start cultivating those ideas and be like, hey, I want to learn more. Like, I want to hear about other people's ideas. And so the whole thing was really just like a sneak peek of the greatest, you know, guests that we've had on.
Love it. Michael, I know you got something for that too.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know where we came up with the ideas. It was probably on a run or something because that's where we have our $1 million ideas, right? Like,
I just had a great run earlier today.
Yeah.
I'm with you guys on that.
So sometimes we did like a really brutal, like 25-mile hike and like our feet are still recovering from that.
Nice.
And so it's been a while since we had like a long run and I was like, it's time.
It's time to unleash the creative
ideas
juices.
brewing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't know where the idea came from. We were just like, we talked to everybody about like how they launched their podcast, right? And I think it was just like a combination of what we heard, and then we're like, well, let's just ramp it up. And I don't know who decided like let's post every day leading up to the podcast, like 2 weeks.
Such a great idea. Posting every day.
Yeah, so and then launching. And then telling everybody when we're launching, and then launching several episodes that day, and then launching an episode every day for the next like 2 weeks to really juice up those downloads. And then we're going to move to like a weekly podcast after that.
You know, shout out to someone though. So Yona Weiss did live streams during the CRE 10-day challenge. And so I'm sure somewhere in the back of our minds that was there, right? Because we were both guests on different days. But it was like, oh, this is neat.
Nice.
You know, if he's doing it, then why can't we do it? Like, I'm sure there was some sort of unconscious like connection there.
And then we got to give a shout out to Yona real quick. Rena, if you can find like Yona's LinkedIn or Instagram, or we did a webinar with him too. Actually, yeah. See, if you guys can find Yona's webinar, shout out to the Next Level team here, and post the YouTube replay in the Facebook comments for Yona's webinar. Please do it. Is how to launch a meetup that people crave.
I love it.
Yeah, it was golden. So anyways, Michael, I kind of hopped in there. I think you were saying something else as well.
I was just going to say, in that Go Live book too, they talk about StreamYard and like how you can get on there and you can blast it out to all your platforms and go live. And I was like, that's incredible. And then we actually got to experience that with Yona, and like, okay, we got to do this. So that's definitely probably where it came from. So
love it. And it sounds like with a lot of what you guys are talking about, you've mastered the art of being one chapter ahead. I want to say if you guys do have traffic secrets behind you, it gets referenced in there somewhere, but I heard a story about how, the guy who's in the movie, Leonardo DiCaprio did Catch Me If You Can, but I guess the storyline at some point in the book, it's like he taught advanced physics course to like an entire student body, and he didn't know anything about physics before the class, but like he sat there for 10 minutes. No teacher walked in, so he just got up and he just pretended to be the teacher for a whole semester. And when they finally caught him, they're like, how did you teach, physics 501 for the whole semester? And he's like, well, plain and simple, I just made sure that no matter what, I was always one chapter ahead of the class. And by doing that, I was able to teach. And it's like, I think with you guys, where you're at with the podcast, especially, it's like, you're not coming in here saying, oh, we're, Joe Rogan or whoever has been doing this for years, but you're one chapter ahead of where a lot of people want to be. And just the insight that you're sharing here is phenomenal. So thank you. There was one other thing that you mentioned there, and I know I took a note of it, but I'm trying to find where the heck did I
was like, I can talk about like the very beginning, right? So like for us, we probably gave ourselves like 2.5 months to be like, okay, what, like figure out the cover art, figure out the hosting platform, figure out what iTunes is about, figure out like the guests that we want. And the reason we started so early is because we wanted to try to mitigate risks, right? And so what I even mean by that is like, something can go wrong with editing your videos. Maybe you're going to do it yourself and you think it'd only take you an hour, and you find out that one episode actually takes you 10 hours, like things like that. And so we also asked the people that we wanted to be on our podcast, plus a little more, because we knew some people wouldn't sign up right away. We knew that some people would sign up and then not actually like do the Calendly part, which is totally fine. Our dates just wouldn't work. And so like we kept trying to figure out like what would happen if we didn't have enough guests? What would happen if a podcast didn't come out on time? Like, what will we do if we run out of time to do cover art? But because we started months ahead, it was like, oh, cool. I can post 2 weeks before the launch because I've given myself like an extra month, to be able to interview everybody and actually know the dates that they're coming out and the things that they talked about. So like just having that much more time made it so much less, I guess, stressful. And it just worked, right? Because sometimes we think when we go into something like we have to get it all done on that day or like within that week, but like finding the balance to do it all worked, because there's so much really to a podcast. Like even our drip campaign, where we had to set up the form, we then had to have those automated emails go out to talk about new and noteworthy, because it's not like other people knew what we were talking about, like the next steps of sending your photo, making a list of saying like, make sure you check your Wi-Fi, make sure you have a good microphone.
Can we just throw that in there for anyone that wants to pick these guys' brains? Their email strategy leading up to this too, let's like not underestimate that too. There were so many good, not annoying, informational emails about this launch coming. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there. Keep going.
No, you're totally okay. But yeah, even that, like we made sure to put it in our newsletter. Again, we just didn't want it to be a surprise, because if nobody knows about it the day it's coming out, like, can you actually be disappointed when you don't have any downloads? Like you can't, like for a race or
That's
anything.
A quote right there. Can you quote that one?
So like even for races, like you practice and practice and practice so that the day of the race, like you're ready to perform. Like I don't go into bike rides or bike races or half marathons never practicing, right? That it doesn't make sense to me. So like
great analogy.
Yeah, it all has, you have to prepare. I mean, for athletes, it's understandable. For like the non maybe traditional athlete, like whatever you do that requires practice in your life, like it goes towards, I mean, even cooking is a great one. Like nobody is a master chef the first time they cook ever, everything just comes with like time and balance and patience. That's a good word, patience.
Let's not forget patience. I remembered what I was going to do here now too, but first, Michael, did you have any comments or follow up on what Suzy was saying?
I'm just excited because now we're going to do it again for a YouTube channel launch.
There you go.
Yes. Rinse and repeat. And that's another great, you kind of just brought something powerful to light there too. We get distracted. I'm going to keep saying this as business owners, content creators, however you want to look at it. We see, as referenced, the Grant Cardones, we see just these big names where it's like, okay, they're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Snapchat, like literally everywhere, full omnipresence, TikTok. And we go, oh man, I got to be like that. I got to be everywhere. I got to do everything they're doing. And actually, no, like when you're first getting started, if you can just focus on like one thing at a time, like you're mentioning here with the podcast, boom. Honestly, whether new and noteworthy or not, like it's going to be a great launch. And then now you've got the formula for a great launch of podcasts. Keep it rolling. As you mentioned, I don't know if I'm speaking the strategy already, but once you get to the one a week, then it's like, all right, cool. Let's build up some hype for this YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Get those subscribers up. And it's a winning recipe instead of trying to do it all at the same time. So
Exactly.
What you mentioned earlier was something I found powerful. So Rena and the Next Level team, I see you guys are in here. Rena said, true that. If you guys can pull the webinar we did with Sam Miller, which is how to become an authentic authority in your niche through video. Shout out to Fletcher Wheaton for finding Sam Miller, by the way. He used I'm going to share my screen here. He used a diagram, and he didn't, this is going to be with like Microsoft Paint, guys. All right. So bear with me.
I cannot wait.
showed a diagram, and I'm just going to kind of draw it. He didn't do this, but he's like, when we're creating content and videos, like everyone thinks that, your audience wants to see you here. When in reality, okay, keep in mind, this is the finish here, right, guys? In reality, this is the start. What they want to see are these.
Yeah.
They want to see this.
They want to see the
dynasty. This is what wins the audience. Not, man, I feel like I actually know what I'm doing here. Not that. That is cool. Like everyone likes to see the finish, but this is where the money is made. So thank you for tuning into my Microsoft Paint session, first of its kind. Maybe we'll do some more of those in the future.
Can you autograph for
that? But yeah, just keep that in mind. And guys, Michael, again, they're a shining example of what that looks like. So time to start winding it down. I have a little fun questions here for you. Let's see. We'll do two. So the first one is, where do you guys? What's the next big trip? Where's the next hike going to be at? Where are you going?
That's a great question. So, because it's very difficult to leave the country right now, our next in-country trip will be. I can go all through it. So we're gonna start in Wales, and there's a challenge called the Three Peaks Challenge, and you hike the tallest mountain, in Wales, the UK, and Scotland within 24 hours. So we're going to start in Wales and hang out there for 2 or 3 days, right? And then that's when we'll start our challenge. So we'll hike it, then we'll go to England's and hike that one, and then go to Scotland, hike that one, and then end our trip in Scotland, and then stay there for 5-ish days.
That's cool. Because you got to do it within 24 hours. So how far apart are each of the peaks?
5 to 6 hours driving between each one.
And it takes maybe a couple hours to hike each one?
Yes. I think it's 25 total miles roughly, or 24 or something like that for all three combined. So
that's
probably
10,000 feet of elevation.
Yeah.
There's probably some people that maybe didn't make it because traffic or something, right?
Yeah, we start so because we're so far north, it gets light here at 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning, so we could start pretty early, and it stays light until 10 at night. So,
and we will also that has been thought about the traffic. Will we be hiking when most people would be driving, and vice versa, that we can achieve it. But so it'll be that, and then if I can find a magical beach in South UK or South England, then we will go there, just because we miss the water and the sand.
Yeah.
We have some awesome,
go ahead.
I was just saying we have some other awesome events coming up in the fall we're really excited about. We're running a half marathon, a triathlon, and then we're also biking all the way across Scotland. So we're excited to do that. So
love it. That's so cool. So actually 2 more things, because I almost forgot. We'll do one more fun question, and we'll say, because I know you guys are into the books, which is awesome. So we'll say the best book that you've both read within the past month, and then we're going to get to the contact information and all that stuff, how people can go invest. That's really important. We got to talk about that. So favorite books within the past month, we'll go Michael, Suzy, in that order.
So
first.
I won't steal Suzy's thunder. I know what book she's going to say, but
no, I was going to change it.
Okay. But I'm reading Vivid Vision right now, and I am super pumped to get through. I want to put it down right now and start writing my Vivid Vision, but I know, because that's just me, I'm okay, I read it, got it, and I'm ready to do it, but I actually got to finish the book and then write the Vivid Vision. Suzy and I will sit down and write. And so I was actually thinking we're gonna have to take a vacation somewhere, be isolated, remove ourselves from technology, and then write this out. So that's when we get really creative. So I'm excited for that. Yeah.
Nice. Vivid Vision. I might know where you got that one. I don't know.
That's funny, right? So Michael thought I was going to say who, not how, but there's actually one that keeps popping up, and I really like it. It's called Clients for Life. And the whole premise of the book is to become an advisor and not an expert, because in an expert role, people just come to you for information. It's very transactional. But for an advisor role, that's where you truly cultivate ideas and get to know the depths of people. And that book is just phenomenal. I mean, not only within work, it's phenomenal within, relationships with your friends, with your parents, with your grandma. It doesn't matter who it is, you know what I mean? And so that's Clients for Life is a good one.
Love it. So Clients for Life and Vivid Vision. Rena, if you could link to those in the comments, that'd be awesome. I know Vivid Visions by Cameron Harold. What Clients for Life, who was that by?
So I'm actually not going to say his name correct at all. Jagdish Chef. That was really bad.
Let's see it. Or actually, you know what? Me talking might have covered up the screen. Can you say something real quick?
Hi. Clients for Life.
There we go. So guys, go check it out. Fantastic. So contact information, maybe deals on the horizon. I'm sure someone in here is going to be interested in following up with you guys, whether it's podcasting, investing, or just being friends. Let's get the best ways to do that. You guys decide who goes.
Michael goes. He's better at this.
So we've actually made it very simple, and it's not, I know giving out a personal email or a personal, giving out your web address is like very impersonal, but the best way to do it is just go to adventurousrei.com/info. And there you'll be able to find everything. You'll be able to find learn more about return on impact, ROI. That's the ROI that we focus on. You can connect with Suzy and I on LinkedIn there. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. So then you know that when it launches July 1st, you'll be ready. You can subscribe to our podcast there. Everything that we talked about on this podcast, you'll be able to find there. And also you'll be able to find, that'll be our website. So you can find if you're interested to invest with us, and then we can hop on a call and chat. So everything there. So that I'm
so happy with that answer. I think I did I do the same thing on your show? I can't remember. It's so easy to just say, hey, disclaimer, I know this may seem impersonal, but if you really want to get to know me, just go to my website. Boom, you can get it all right there. And I haven't had many people on the show who did what you guys just did. So thank you. I love people who have the one-stop shop for contact. It just makes it so much easier.
And if you connect with Suzy or I on LinkedIn, drop us a note and say, hey, we heard you on Adam's podcast, and that'd be really awesome. So
there we go. Yeah, please do, guys. Reach out, connect with them now. If you're not friends with these guys now, and I know we have some people tuned in live and some people watching on the replay, go friend, connect, email, subscribe to the podcast. Rena, did we put that? Let's make sure we got that in the comments. The Apple Podcast link for the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor podcast. Leave a 5-star rating, drop a review, subscribe. We're all heading to the new and noteworthy party, guys. So let's go.
Right.
Any closing remarks from you guys?
You were born to make an impact.
Boom. I think we might have to just end it on that. Right. Is that okay? Can we end it on that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we were joined today by Suzy Sevier and Michael Barnhart of the Adventures of a Real Estate Investor podcast. And make sure you go check out their website as well. I have it here, adventurousrei.com. That's the Adventurous Real Estate Investors website. Guys, thank you so much for investing your most valuable resource with us here today. Your time. We had a good time. Thank you.
We did. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for having us on.
You bet. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening and also investing your time here today. I hope you learned something. Go reach out to them. That's all out of me, Adam Carswell, for Dream Chasers. Guys, remember, in all you think, say, and do, take it to the next level.
Boom.
Thank you once again for investing your most valuable resource with us here today, your time. If you enjoyed today's episode, please drop a 5-star rating and a review below. Take a screenshot of it and send it over to nextlevel@carswell.io. We have a present for you. We really appreciate you guys leaving those reviews because it really helps with the overall SEO and visibility of the show and allows us to continue to bring on high quality guests. So once again, thank you. And remember, take it to the next level.